welcome. Obviously, those of you, excuse me, on the screen, hopefully know each other. Otherwise, you can see by recognizing the name and hopefully the country or the organization you work for, part of this massive global movement, doing impressive work in improving and the lives of torture survivors, fighting for the prevention of torture, the eradication of torture, and within our new strategy, which I'm sure you all know so well because you contributed so actively to it, working on the two legs of the strategy, healing and justice. So it's our true pleasure to continue the journey started by the former EXCOM, the General Assembly in Mexico, on the global standards. So the formulation of the standards was the 4-year journey. You know the words that were put to paper, the 17 now standards that we work to have agreed upon. It's really been a phenomenal journey, as we all know. And even better, I think, as General Secretary of IRCT, was to see how many members have now stepped into the process of formulating what these standards mean for each other, producing video clips that are now a sound foundation for the e-curriculum we will have that will be presented in the course of this meeting. And also the contributions of over 85 members who did a self-assessment on where they are as organizations and where they're having challenges in meeting the different standards. Their ambitions for changing and their ambitions for actually improving services. So this is all about survivors in the center, survivor-driven change, survivor-owned change, and then the professional perspective from all the healthcare workers who are part of our work, but also the human rights activists, the lawyers, the social workers, and the support staff. So for me, it's a real pleasure to be able to say welcome to this meeting and to really applaud you all. I've been part of processes before where there was a lot of time spent on getting a document finished, and that seemed to be the end goal, the document that's then signed off. And here it seems like the real workers really started once we got that document signed off, and now around the implementation. So, congratulations to you all. And I thank you very much for your proactive work with Berta, who's the focal point for the global rehabilitation standards. And I would just, in closing, mention that there have been a variety of also survivors who have mentioned and talked back about how important it is that we have this approach. We've also gotten feedback from staff members that these resonate with organizations around the world. We have good feedback from a couple of our donors that this is an impressive step forward. And most recently, the UN Fund for Torture Victims has also used and had a presentation of these standards and has decided they will be really taking these on board and looking at these when they go to assess organizations. So it's a tool now that's out in the community. And with those words, I would hand it over to Berta. Hopefully what we get as takeaways for this meeting is your continued commitment and your individual commitment in your own organizations to take on one or two of these standards as your real work piece for the next year's time, and then to contribute back to helping those who are maybe less resource strong and who are challenged to make sure our colleagues can walk the path, walk the talk with us in this journey to improving services for survivors. So with those words, I don't know if there are any introductory questions to me, but you're more than willing to, you're more than able to raise a hand if you want any comments to this introduction. Otherwise, I'm going to hand over to my very able colleague, Berta. And also a word of thanks to the Health Advisory Committee. So Marissa is on the call with us this morning, and this afternoon, Michael will be on the call with us. They've been steadfast supporters, as has the organization OST in Australia, of really, like many of you, commenting, feeding back, making sure we're on the right track. So this would not have come into action without all this fantastic membership participation. So Berta, over to you.
Thank you. And yeah, great to see you all online. Today, I'm going to be actually trying out this new presentation format, which is very cool, but I think I'll need to then put speaker mode. Is it how it should work, or maybe spotlight me? Now everybody can see it, right? Me spotlighted. Okay. So I'm trying this new cool format. So, well, the global standards, I guess you're all familiar with it. And yeah, as you know, and as Lisa said, this is, I'm just gonna try to make this bigger so you can all see. Yeah, so as you know, we have now been dedicating some months to get this into action and put them into practice to, as Lisa said, walk the talk. It all started with the self-assessment, which was shared with all of you in December, and we will look at the results in a minute. But yeah, today we're gathering here to kickstart this rollout process of the standards, to hear from you your outputs, also on how the Secretariat, from the Secretariat, we can best support you in this process. So what are we gonna see today or speak about today? So we will start presenting the results of the self-assessment. We will then discuss how to go with the rollout process. And finally, we'll show you the e-course, which has been finalized and is ready to be taken. And again, throughout the, the whole throughout this whole call, please jump in if you have any comments. Don't wait until we see your raised hand. Just unmute yourself and jump in. Yes, perfect. So, but before, let's start reflecting on some fundamental questions to get us all on the same page. Actually, before showing you the slide, I would like to ask someone here in the call why. What are the standards for? Why should we start, this rollout process? And I'm just gonna screen here. I don't know if maybe Marisa or Suraj or Robin. I'm just saying out names.
Maybe we can start with those who
I'm
are
happy to help.
exactly in the afternoon. Go ahead.
So this is Marissa from Australia. So part of the work that we've been doing together on the Health Advisory Board is to develop I guess, practical steps that different centres can take to implement the standards. And the standards are really important because they give us some guidance around those things that help us be consistent across the different centres and give us a sense of sort of what we expect as the way we work and the standards that we hold. So I guess that's a starting point. Not sure if I've answered everything, Berta.
No, that's actually it's even broader than what I had initially.
Oh, good. You're welcome.
Here. So yeah, exactly. No, that's amazing. So yeah, basically, I mean, here the main why, I guess, is to ultimately help improve the quality of the rehabilitation services for torture survivors from each one of the centers. And well, here I also, you can see that I've also associated it, well, directly, you can see that it's directly linked to our goal 1, healing, and sub-goal, improve rehabilitation capacity. Now, the next 2 questions that we'd like to go through today is how. So how we start with it, how we start with this process, how we get this going, and what can the Secretariat do. Even though we will obviously always encourage this to be more of a peer support process where you can help each other. As Lisa said, there are more resourceful centers who can help others and vice versa. So yeah, but let's just leave these 2 questions maybe for later. Now let's look at the self-assessment results, which was completed by 85 centers. This is impressive, and thank you all of you who took the time to complete it. So now I would also like to hear from you, and it can be someone that is not Marisa, because I know Marisa has been looking at this for some time now. what I would like you to tell me, what do you see in this graph? What do they tell you? What do these results tell you? And yeah, just take some time to see. As you can see, the green ones means implemented, the pink in progress, the red ones not implemented, and the yellow ones non-applicable. And then this kind of darker green, it means that is, you know, the qualitative comments that we got from members sharing their experiences with the specific standards. But yeah.
It's Robin from Australia here. The first thing I see when I look there is it's really promising in how much green there is and how many people are already implementing these or working on them, and that it looks like we do have a really good base to work from for improving that quality and that consistency around the world. So yeah, I see a lot of promise there.
Thank you, Robin. And if I can ask, which do you see are the most challenging standards in general from the responses we see on screen? Don't be shy.
Victims' participation, I think.
Yes.
Am I right? It's so small.
Oh, it's hard for you to read. But Josephine, there's also the same comment as Robin, which is quite interesting, that there is a lot of, you know, implementation going on right now. So this is something, you know, we say kickstart, but by far this is not the beginning, right? Many of you are on this journey already, and that I think is super impressive. So it's more building on that and finding, as Berta is now trying to tease out, okay, so where are the ones that we really need together to focus on? So victim participation was one you pointed out, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most challenging.
And then, yeah, I also see access to justice and organizational capacity.
Yeah.
And actually, maybe Marisa, you also want to comment on this, but you remember when you actually pointed out that it's maybe also the in progress indicator, it also tells us something, right? Not only the not implemented.
That's right, because it, you know, in progress could mean all sorts of things. It could mean that it's close to being completed, or it could mean that it's still got a fair amount of work to go. So I think it sort of gives a sense that it might not quite be there yet.
In her car, maybe she's out of reach.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just going to interject for, I think it was from the Philippines, the recognition of the survivor involvement being a difficult one. You have a brief idea of how we could tackle that, or what ideas, what would be a methodology that would be helpful to you, recognizing that was a tough one?
Are you asking me, Lisa?
Yeah. I just thought a follow-up question. Thanks.
Well, actually, in the Philippines, we try to involve the victims, in coming up with a plan for intervention. But one thing that really matters, I think, or should I say, is a challenge, is that, for example, those who are inside the prison, how can they really be participating? Considering that we have limited time to get into the prison, for example, or for those areas who are, far-flung areas, or those who have not, or who have not been empowered, or fearing, for example, to share something. So it's really a challenge for us to get their views in relation to the rehabilitation, especially if your rehabilitation, of course, our rehabilitation is not much on the clinical, although we have some clinical. So I think one thing is that how will you put, how will you make your language more understandable to the victims is very important, no? So that for them, they don't feel, you know, that what we're doing is what from the different space or from the different perspective as compared to them, no? So I think it's relevant.
Thank you.
Looking into the language as well, and even the appropriateness of what we are doing, so that they won't feel alienated. Thank you.
Exactly. This is the kind, this sounds right there like potentially a theme to connect. If there are other organizations who would also like to delve into this theme, maybe this is, a theme for another workshop or a more intense bilateral relationship with another organization who's dealing with the same kind of issues around this, because survivor involvement is many places in our global standards. But thanks. Back to you, Berta, just to unpack it a bit.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think this is the discussions we should start to have, right? Now we have these results, and it's kind of a good departure point from where to start having this conversation. I don't know. I can see some people are joining in, and I just want to invite them to also share your comments on what. So we're basically looking at the self-assessment results, and we're asking you to tell us what these results tell us. And how would you interpret it from your perspective? I can see maybe Jorge, you just joined in. I don't know if you want to contribute, or I can also see Dalal. Otherwise, we'll just continue. Marisa, now you're at home. But yeah.
Hi, Bert. I'm afraid I'm driving, so I'm a bit limited in.
Keep your eyes on the road.
The Australians are on the
Yes.
move. Okay, yep. No problem. No, then I'll just make kind of the last one last observation, maybe from also what we observed with the Health Advisory Board, that this victim feedback and victims participation which are both by nature kind of intertwined or related. They are both they have both like high rates of in progress, and that's something that also kind of brought our attention or called our attention. So I don't know if you have any insights on that, on how can that be in progress? Is it because it's something that is challenging? Is it because it's something that it can never be completely implemented, kind of?
And maybe looking for others who would like to speak, but just to contribute that this was recognized by you all as a challenging area, or an area where there was a desire to improve. And so there is also a special project within the strategy now, where we have a steering committee who's working on survivor engagement, and there will be a special set of activities, workshops, trainings, webinars that you can participate in around this particular theme, or important standards you want to work on. Thanks, Berta.
Perfect. Yeah, good to also link it with the survivor engagement initiative, of course, which will give us hopefully a lot of insights. But so now to nail this even more down, we have prepared a Mentimeter. For the ones who don't know, it's fine. This is going to be your first experience with this tool. We would like you to provide us with your inputs, and we have prepared just a couple of questions, which will allow us to actually see the responses displayed. But first thing, what you have to do is to go into this link that I will be sharing now on the chat, or you can be too cool for school and scan this QR code that you see on screen. Otherwise, you just enter the link that I shared with you all in the chat. And as you do that, I will share my screen so we can all see the results as you enter. So when you enter the link, you will see one question, which is this one. It says, am I sharing my screen? No, wait, I'm not sharing the right screen. So there we are.
You're also able, if you have a phone next to your computer, if you scan the code, if you have a phone, you can, it comes right onto your telephone. So you can also do it that way if you like.
Okay, now you should see my screen. Are you seeing the Mentimeter or not? Yeah. Okay, so we can see people responding. So it is asking you to indicate which one of these three is the most challenging for your center. The winner is access to justice. And there's a couple of any of the above, which is interesting also. So as you can see also, to explain, these three were the ones that had the highest rates of non-implementation from the self-assessment results. Anyway, so I guess you have all now entered and shared your thoughts here. Well, so I guess this is a clear picture now. Access to justice first, then victims' participation and organizational capacity. I don't know if someone from the call who answered any of the above could jump in and share if these three standards are how they are working in your center, especially access to justice maybe. Or if someone else wants to share anything else. Otherwise, we just go to the next question. So now the next question says, which standard or standards would you like to work on to reinforce or improve its implementation in your center? And you can click on more, like you can click more than one.
And here again, we see that many of you are either in the border area, so you have a poor connection, or you're in a vehicle. So we understand that not everyone can participate, but we wanted, and this is Berta's idea, which I think is great, a way for you to actually give feedback immediately during the meeting, so you don't have to rely on sending you a survey afterwards. Here, we're just trying to figure out which one would you like to work on?
Yeah, look at that. Okay, so we have victims' feedback first, access to justice, which is actually reflecting also the self-assessment results. Share knowledge on the third, interesting. Then victims' participation, organizational capacity, evaluating improvements in quality of life, independent services. Okay. More independent services. advocating for rehabilitation funding. Just give it a couple of more minutes. Okay, documented global impact. Also care for staff. Now access to justice has moved to the 3rd place. This is like a race.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, I guess this is it. Well, so first of all, we have victims' feedback, then independent services, access to justice, victims' participation, and then share knowledge, advocate for funding, documenting our global impact, safety of victims, organizational capacity, evaluating improvements of quality of life, and care for staff. Okay, I don't know if someone wants to comment. Okay, we have new answers already. If someone wants to comment on, the specificities in their center or how they're actually thinking about working on those standards, is it something you have been discussing already with your team? Is it something you already know how to move forward with? Is there anything you would? Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead, Raj.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's very exciting too. We'll get the result at the, in the moment. Well, actually, this is very important question, and I think to have, in my personal thoughts, organizational capacity and independent services is quite important, which I think I would like to reinforce and improve in my center, because most of the services that we have been providing to the victims in the community, because of the the funding and also the resources that we have been the getting from the different sources, that will not go for a long term. That will somehow stop in between, and then again you have to compromise the services that you have been continuing providing to the the victims. So in that particular sense, if the organization can have its own capacity to provide to ensure the quality rehabilitation services in terms of their technical capacity, I think that will at least there's some minimum services can be retained. And the second thing, of course, if this, funding is always a challenge, and that's why the capacity is of the organization is quite crucial in terms of the continuing the services. That's why I just wanted to really emphasize in this point. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Suraj. Yeah, it's obviously a good point, and obviously makes sense, right? To ensure the continuity of improving the quality of services. I'm just thinking, is there someone in the call who relates to Suraj comments, situation or observations?
We have a couple comments in the chat, Bertha, from Susan Wyatt. The involvement of survivors, engaging survivors is so high on the priority list. So there's obviously a call out, shout out to those who are working with survivor engagement. Lenin's talking about dignity and opportunities, important for survivors and rehabilitation. Participation being, I mean, his focus there, I think, in that comment being on participation. Mm-hmm. But any other, I'm just also thinking general reflections on what you see here. Olivia's giving some direct feedback. Go ahead, Amir.
No, sorry, it was me. Oh. No, it was actually just me wanting to read Olivia's comment, but you were doing that. Lisa, go ahead.
Yeah. No, of course. Well, for those maybe on phones who can't see, Olivia, right, is talking about at their center, most of the standards are being implemented. But here there's like she says, but we need to work on standard 15 and 16. evaluating improvements in quality of life. And I just wonder, is there anybody else out there that has that challenge? Or is that an interesting piece for people to work on?
And I can see also Josephine has her hand up. Just
Yes, I'd like to reflect on the first, the access to justice, because it's number one in relation with the other standards. I think it's very important really to provide this access to justice, because based on our experience, even if we are doing a lot of rehabilitative work, particularly on other aspects, if that access to justice is not being given attention, and ultimately, and based on our experience, it's the ultimate need of the survivors, to have the justice, to gain justice. And I think it's really relevant that this access to justice has to be given the priority first. Then later on, it will, it will follow. No, in fact, I think access to justice is facilitative to be able to look into the gains of the rehabilitation. So I think it's a prerequisite, in rehabilitation. You cannot achieve rehabilitation, as what we have heard a lot, among our partners inside the jails. We cannot, be rehabilitated unless we have gained, the justice that we are seeking. So yeah, I'm just reflecting on why access to justice is the first one.
thank you, Josephine. And actually, this is well, for the ones now we're at the end of this meeting, we're going to be presenting the e-course. And actually, Josephine, this is something you contribute to for the video on access to justice, the standard 5. So yeah, for all of you, you'll be also able to hear more in the video of how important it is to provide access to justice for victims to also yeah, ensure full rehabilitation. I'm also noticing in the chat the importance in quality of life. Actually, both Susan and Stephanie say that is something that might be challenging. I don't know, Stephanie. I know, Susan, you have bad internet quality, but I don't know, Stephanie, if you could go on mic and explain a bit more what is it difficult in Lebanon specifically, context-wise.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello. So maybe, as you know, that the current situation here in Lebanon is quite difficult because of the economic crisis and political also. So before even thinking about access to justice, we're just thinking about their basic needs, which is food, electricity, water, like just the basic hygiene standards that should be acquired by them. I don't know if I answered.
No, that's perfect, Stephanie. Yeah, again, different standards on what quality of life means, and then here looking at the very basic needs, right? In the context of Lebanon. I'm also noticing Susan is raising her hand, so maybe you want to jump in, Susan, if you have good internet.
Hi, Berta. I think I've managed to get onto better internet. Hi, everybody. Yeah, from us in Zimbabwe, I suppose because our cultural and contextual kind of values are a little bit different, and we're such a collective society, and maybe similar to some places, our context, the economic situation, the political situation is really far reaching, so much further than just the individual kind of symptom management. So our processes often involve relationships and trust and other things, involvement in community, participation in civil society space, things like that. So for us here, quality of life is such an important measure and standard. But I know that I think we all face challenges in how we measure that, and is that robust enough, and do we find that scientific enough or valuable enough? So there's always an argument maybe against it. But for us, it's really important. We have the Zimbabwe Community life questionnaire, which we use alongside our symptom questionnaire checklist. And we use 2 of those measures for all our programs. So for us, it's really important to see that standard there. And we're doing a lot to try and make that more robust and evidence-based and part of our standards. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan, and yeah, and Stephanie for your comments on this particular one. We notice actually that it is a pretty challenging one, also for the obvious contextual challenges within it. But yeah, we're taking notes. We'll and this is again food for thought for us to move forward, or as we move forward. So I'm thinking, I'm just mindful of time. I'm just thinking we'll leave it here, but super interesting debate. I'll just now go to the next thing that I have prepared here. I will go back to my presentation. Okay. So now let's speak about how to roll this out, basically. So the self-assessment has now given us a baseline, a departure point from which to move forward and get into action. That means we know now which standards are challenging, which others we're strong in. So we encourage you all to take ownership of this process in your own centers, to reflect on which standards or standard you would want to focus on as we move forward. Most of you indicated them today in the Mentimeter, in this activity we just went through. But yeah, it's good. We encourage you to start reflecting on this and to start having this discussion within your team. Also thinking, you know, how are we as an organization step into this kind of transition or organizational change even. Now, a good way to start getting closer to how the implementation of these standards may look like in your centers. I apologize for the sound, background sound. We're in a very small office. But yeah, so one of the good ways to start getting closer to this reflection is with the e-course that is now available on Fabo, that is already finalized, where you will get tips and experience from other members on how they do, you know, with different standards, which mechanisms they have, etc., etc. So let's just have a look at this course. Let me now share back again my normal camera and now share my screen. I don't know if there are comments up to here. Please just jump in if there are. Otherwise, I'll share my screen here. Yeah, Alisa, go ahead.
No, and I'll just say, I mean, we know, of course, that many of you are already heavily involved in working with improvements in your organization. So maybe it's just, you know, explaining that to us and to others, that you're not starting from scratch. You know, there's a long history here that we respect, and we're really happy to gain knowledge from that. So you've already hearing colleagues on the call, you know, describing some of the work they do, and those are some go-tos for you, you know. So the organization Tree of Life in Zimbabwe has a big piece on quality of life and a community approach that might be relevant for others to use or to learn from, for example. Back to you, Berta.
Yeah, exactly. This again, encouraging this peer help, peer support as we move forward. So yeah, now I'll just walk you very, you know, well, I would say quickly, but it's just because it's a lengthy program, but I'll just show you how it looks like. So this is, now you can see my screen, I hope. Yes, perfect. So this is how it looks like in Fabo. You obviously need to register. The ones who have never registered onto Fabo, you have to register and sign in. And this is how the e-course looks like. So basically, on the left-hand bar, you will see the different sections. And as you can see, each standard has its own section. I call them sections. You can call them modules, however you want. But yeah, so basically we have this first welcome section where we have here the Health Advisory Board, Marisa and Michael giving us a warm welcome to the course. Here we have just a kind of a pre-survey to get started. Then, yeah, here we have Leila and Lisa speaking about how the standards were established. And here we have a very cool video, which we would encourage you all to watch at some point, if not when you're going to take the course, but also on our YouTube channel. This is showing all the members, all the centers who did contribute to the standards. And yeah, I don't know, should we watch it now? No, maybe we don't have time.
If there is time, I think it would be good. And this can also be used by you, just to remember, if you're talking to your staff at a staff meeting, this video, or if you're talking to one of your donors or people on your clients. So this video kind of explains who we are. If it can be, it's the 1-2 minute one, right, Berta?
No, it's the long one.
Okay, no. Okay. Then
but we can just watch a little bit, like just the part where everybody says hi.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just make sure I'm sharing also my sound.
It's to give those who haven't seen this before just a flavor. Go ahead, Berta.
Exactly.
Hello and namaste. My name is Suraj Koirala. I'm technical advisor at TPA Nepal and council member of International Rehabilitation Council for torture victims.
Everyone, my name is Peace Avola and I'm the social work coordinator working with African Center for Treatment and Rehabilitation of Torture Victims in Uganda.
Hi, my name is Maite Samakona and I'm a senior advisor at the Swedish Red Cross Health and Care Department, and this is my colleague Alexandra Torien.
Un cordial saludo del equipo de Estudios Comunitarios y Acción Psicosocial, ECAP.
My name is Lenny Raghuvanshi. I'm a founder of the People's Wilderness Committee on Human Rights, the member center of the IRCT.
Hi, my name is Hannah and I'm the clinical case manager at Survivors of Torture International in San Diego, California.
We have developed a practice guide on the global standards of the IRCT in the rehabilitation of torture victims. These standards are based on ethical values we all share.
The goal is to support member centres with the continuous improvement of the quality and effectiveness of their services.
Our mission and practice are built around do not harm principle and ensure the safety of torture survivors.
MAG fully subscribe to international standard for the care and treatment of torture survivors and their families as we commit to be patient-centered.
And I think I'll leave it here. I guess you all got an idea of the video. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And as Lisa said, there's a 2-minute. Great. That was Marisa. Yeah, and as you say, as Lisa said, we have there's a 2-minute short version of it on social media. I think you can find it on Twitter, right? Yeah. It's on Twitter and on YouTube. Yeah. So again, as Lisa said, you can also use that when you're when you want to maybe show the work we're doing as a global movement with these standards. But yeah, so far so good. So I'm just gonna give you like a quick walk. So here you will see that you can actually scroll to the right when you want to go to the next module. So in this case, then you would move here. We would start with the standard 1, and as you can see, there's the definition. You will find a cool illustration by Malek. She's sitting in Tripoli. She has been designing the whole illustrations for this e-course. Here, then Following, you will see the standard explained by members. So these are the videos you have been producing and that you have been contributing to. And then you will see there are two activities. Most of them are giving you a situation in which you need to then tell us what you would do, how you would react. And then here you also have the same, but just indicating whether you think it's a good practice or a bad practice. And this is basically the same structure throughout all the standards, or all the sections or modules. I don't know. I'm gonna see if there are any questions, or if you think this is it's clearly understandable how to move through this e-course. Otherwise, please feel free. I know maybe now there might not be questions, and it all seems to be fine. But we all know that questions come when you actually try to start getting into it. So feel free to reach out to me.
So the idea being with this, that you could with your with your staff say, today we're going to focus on standard 2. All your staff could go online on fabo.org. They use their own password. You make your own password, you save it, it's yours, whatever password you use. You could see the video for standard 2, and then you could go through the dilemmas or the situations. You could potentially do it with your staff online and use this as a talking point in order to, we read the standard, you see a video describing it from different contexts in the world, and then there's a dilemma. So we're trying to ensure the learning sinks in, that you really think about it and you take it forward with you as an individual staff, but hopefully also in your organization as you move forward. If it's something, you feel organizationally, we should adjust and be doing better on this, or something different, we've now learned something, you could look at how could we systematize this in a different or improved way in our organization. That's the idea with these different modules. You can take them, run through all 17 if you want, or you can take them one at a time or split them up. It's up to you.
Exactly. Actually, this is, as you can see, this circle here, this is going to indicate the course progress, but you don't need to necessarily take it all at once. You can take a couple of sections one day and then resume later on. So it's at your own pace. And as Lisa said, I think also it's a very good course especially for new staff. If you're having new staff coming into the organization or your center, it's good to maybe have them take this course to reflect on these standards, to go through these dilemmas again and situations. So yeah, and as you will see, so yeah, basically it's the same structure for all of them. And as you will see at the end, you will have a final evaluation, but it's just you will see it's just a couple of simple questions here. And you will also, let me just go back to the you will also be receiving a certificate of completion. As you know, when you have completed the whole, well, now you can see, just ignore all of this. This is just a setup error here. But this certificate of completion, you will only be able to receive it if you have completed all the activities, so all the situations and dilemmas throughout the course. But yeah, I don't know if there are any questions or comments. I think it's cool that to have a certificate at the end. I don't know what you think, and then you can show it when if you receive the visit from the UN Voluntary Fund or others who are interested in this work.
Or if you have survivors who you are onboarding into your program, to show that there's a basic standard that we're working with, and that you are obligated and ethically bound to standards, and therefore there's protection for the survivor in the process. This certificate can be used in many ways. But we had heard feedback that people would like to have it. It can also be used, of course, in an HR setting, as Berta is saying, as an onboarding tool, as part of your introduction to, if you're a center in India, but would like to say we're part of something bigger. Also, this gives a pretty quick and succinct way of understanding what this global movement IRCT is all about.
I will just respond to one question in the chat from Susan, Zimbabwe. She's asking whether this is meant to be for individuals within an organization or to sign in as a whole organization. This is up to you. You can do it all together, you know, sitting in front of the computer with your colleagues and going through it all together, or you can individuals within the organization can take them themselves. It's the only thing here is to then register as you know, with name and center, so that then the final certificate you receive it as such. But yeah, it's so just long story short, both options are fine, Susan. We obviously encourage to have this this discussion with your colleagues. Yes. Okay. So I'm mindful of the time. I'll just maybe then move quickly to kind of the last thing I wanted to go through here. Let me spotlight myself here. Okay. So let us now hear from you, because now it's again, as I told you, right? This e-learning package is kind of a parallel, or let's say a complementary tool to help you start reflecting about these standards, to help you start getting tips and hearing about other centers' experiences by implementing these standards. But the idea is obviously that we now get them into action. So yeah, we would just like to hear from you. How do you envision this process in your centers? What challenges do you see? How do you think also we can best help from the Secretariat and also help each other? So use the support from our colleagues here. Yeah, so just jump in if you have any thoughts about it, if you have been thinking about it with your colleagues, or if this is something you will need to start discussing.
Yeah, shall I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, thanks a lot, and thank you so much, Berta. It's really wonderful to see all this, e-learning package is really very. I feel is really very effective in so many contexts. So thank you so much for the whole hard work you all guys have been putting on this. And we TPO Nepal is committed to the to align with this standard as possible, because sometimes the standards this is all the guidance and it is really very fruitful guidance for us to go moving forward, but maybe we cannot do everything, and we are not in terms of perfections. There's a lot of things that we need to improve ourselves, but definitely we'll have a lot of the ideas and thoughts that e-learning and all these standards has been providing to us. So only one just my thoughts is while going through this online e-courses, probably sometimes the language will be a little bit challenging while working with the staffs in the community as well. So in that sense, maybe as you says, we can do in the group as well, not only in the individual but also in the group. So in the group we can consult, we can discuss with the colleagues. So probably in future maybe we can also somehow make it more local. For example, if we can translate the e-learning package into the local language, then will be much more access to the the stakeholders and the colleagues working in the community as well. So I think that will be the thoughts for the future. Maybe it's a little bit big work, but so far, I mean, it's really great work that has been done so far. And thank you so much for everything. Yeah.
Thank you, Suraj. And actually, I can already say that this is something we're thinking about for the upcoming, well, next year already, to translate the e-course so that it's available in French, Spanish, and Arabic. So yeah, that's obviously, yeah, go ahead, Lisa.
I just want to ask a follow-up question to Raj. So can you explain, do you think you would present this to your management team at TPO Nepal and say, you would recommend that this is taken on or looked at by your entire organization, or is it something you'll keep for yourself?
Yeah, it's a very, very, very important question. So today you can see in the call we have I think it's 6 people attending this meeting from TPO Nepal. So it means it's more institutional. It's not only me that is leading the process. We have a team. We have a program department. We have the executive director is also being participated in this call. So definitely we'll be going through the organizational, the perspectives. Rather, it's not an individual will not work. Yeah, that's very clear. Yeah.
Perfect. And well, I think we are already running ahead of time, so we will just thank you all for being here, for listening in, for sharing your thoughts, and yeah, as we said, we're just kickstarting this process. So obviously we'll be finding maybe challenges as we go, and we invite you to please obviously share them with me, but also for us to best look at how we can facilitate this peer support among all of us. Yes.
And for anyone who wants it, there will be a link to this meeting. So a recording is available if anyone who missed it. And number 2, this afternoon, well, at 1500 hours Central European time, there'll be another session similar to this one with both Spanish and French interpretation, because we're really trying to make this accessible to all. But thanks very much for participating, and excellent time management, Beta.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Have a good day. Suraj, Josephine.
Bye.
Shireen.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Bye. Tama.
Thanks, Marissa.
Bye, Shireen.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, Elmir. Okay.